It's time for the Onyx News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the Onyx News Podcast, Margie Kay.
Welcome to the program. Please like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a show. Tonight, my guest is Ron James, and we're going to discuss his latest documentary film, Accidental Truth, Next, which in my opinion is a unique take on the UAP phenomenon and beyond, and leaves the viewer asking further questions such as, who are we, why are we here, and who or what is in control of humanity? I'm going to show the trailer first, and then we'll bring Ron on.
Hey, there's aliens.
We already know life exists in the universe.
It's been over 8 years since we heard about the government UFO program, ATIP. Are we any closer to an official government disclosure regarding non-human intelligence?
They briefed us on some stuff that was, frankly, terrifying.
The DoD and the intelligence community is very comfortable saying it's unknown.
What are we actually talking about?
I can't share with you the details, ma'am.
There are those who will stop at nothing to hide the truth.
Whistleblowers are safe. I will guarantee that.
I have no job. My career has been tarnished.
People have been killed.
It's likely a balloon. It's likely a balloon, a bird.
It is starting to sound like a broken record.
Exotic materials are the holy grail.
I was on the team that was supposed to receive that.
What I really wanted to do was put some materials in the hands of Arrow.
That came from a UFO.
My bit is stuck. We'll have to try something else.
I mean, that stuff should have liquefied like mercury by now.
I thought it should have.
I have no explanation for that.
This is a technology that has long since bled into what we call consciousness.
I'm here to drop off the samplers.
Could non-human intelligence come in many forms?
Our historical timeline has been interrupted by an alien intelligence.
There is a variety of life forms.
From the earliest times, we've had writings of people interacting with non-human intelligence.
People have accepted these things as real.
All of this has to do with the nature of reality itself.
When I say we're in a simulation, there is something that is computing.
We live in something that has a software program.
It's all about consciousness.
Perhaps we've been guided subtly and deliberately.
All the religions have been telling us that there are other beings.
We're in the middle of a revolution right now.
There is a dark side to disclosure, a secret too terrible to be told.
Our future is post-biological.
In a sense, they're midwives or undertakers.
The humans served their purpose.
It may not mean surrendering our spirituality.
You can only beat down the truth for so long.
We're at a point where reality doesn't matter.
We have all new questions. It's time to discover what's next. Accidental Truth, Next, a film by Ron James, narrated by Matthew Modine.
Ron James is a filmmaker, on-camera personality, writer, editor, researcher, content creator, entrepreneur, and media relations director for MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. He also serves on the board of directors of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, where he works to bring the truth about UAPs into mainstream culture through entertainment and media. Over his career, James has produced multiple feature-length documentaries and dozens of independent series episodes. His earlier works have earned more than 70 national awards, including 4 EBE Awards, a Telly Award, and 4 Aegis Awards for excellence in broadcasting. His acclaimed documentary, Accidental Truth, UFO Revelations, narrated by Matthew Modine, has won 28 film festival awards and was cited by name during a UAP congressional hearing by Representative Tim Burchett. The film has been called one of the most important UFO documentaries of all time for its compelling case regarding legacy programs and its ability to anticipate many of the headlines that followed. His newest film, Accidental Truth Next, again narrated by Matthew Modine and featuring actor Thomas Jane, has already earned 7 festival wins, 3 honorable mentions, and 5 semifinalist placements. Welcome to the program, Ron.
Thank you, Margie, for having me on.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. When I heard about your new film, I was very excited about it, and I did get a pre-screening of it on Thursday night, and all I can say is, wow. You really went down the rabbit hole on that one, and it is just fascinating. It's captivating for the entire time, but I think the ending is what makes it. So thank you for doing that film.
Well, I'm so glad you liked it. I mean, I've worked on it for 2 years and had a lot of things happen, and I didn't want to put out a film that I didn't feel was going to move the needle, because I think that the first Accidental Truth movie, it moved the needle, and I wanted to do that again. So we've been watching pretty much a standstill. I guess we got some new UFO files today from the government. I haven't seen them yet, but I predict that it's, it's not pictures from Roswell. So,
oh, you don't think they're going to show us the alien bodies?
We'll see. But yeah, I wanted to move the ball with all of these topics, from the nature of reality all the way to the human destiny and AI and all that stuff, is all intertwined. And we really have to get to the point where we're asking the right questions.
What was it that got your attention that made you think about AI being connected?
I did a little thought experiment, actually, and it's kind of scary. In fact, it's very scary. But if you have a universe as big as this one and as old as this one, and you have civilizations from other planets and other places that have been here way longer than us, and you look at what the trajectory of a technological civilization is going to be, AI is going to come in and begin to play a role. And if you look at how long the universe has been in existence, we have a real possibility that AI may be a very predominant life force.
Uh-oh. Ron is cutting out on us, so we'll just hang in here for... I'm sorry, Ron.
That's terrible. I've got brand new internet. I don't know why that's doing that.
Yeah, you cut out for about a minute, so if you could back up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Well, I was saying that with the thought experiment about the universe being as old as it is, and very many civilizations possibly existing here for way longer than us, it comes down to the reality that artificial intelligence could be way more prevalent in the universe than we think. It could even be one of the more prevalent life forms, if you want to call it a life form.
Well, that's kind of the feeling I got by the end of your movie. And I like to say that AI is my new best friend, but at the same time, I'm terrified of it. Do you think that's how everybody feels right now?
Well, I don't know. You remember back in the day when the conspiracy theory movies would come out, and the New World Order and how we're going to be a total surveillance society. I was always of the mindset that it takes a certain amount of people to surveil a certain amount of people. So you can only have so much surveillance because you've only got so much horsepower to do the surveillance. If you got 8 billion people on the planet, how many people does it take to look at those people and control them and keep them under surveillance? But, nobody realized that AI was going to come along where they could build giant server farms that would digest all of the information coming in about us. And now we don't need a huge human crew to surveil the population. And, we are basically going to be controlled and governed and fed information by this AI monster that they're building. And I honestly don't know how many of us signed on for that. I didn't. I'm sure you didn't. And, you know, in the film, we're saying, look, this is where this is going, and why are we doing it?
Yeah, that's the big question. Why are we allowing it, and who's doing it? I mean, we don't know exactly who's doing it. And then they're building these huge data centers, and none of us really know what they're doing with those data centers.
Right.
And I mean, we just had one approved here in my city of Independence, Missouri. And my husband drove me by where this place is going to be, and it is monstrous. I mean, it's incredible. And it just makes you wonder, what are they really surveilling every single person in the world? Are they keeping track of everything that everybody's doing? And how has AI has just infiltrated our lives? It's a part of us now, and it's going to only get worse as things go on. Now, that being said, it's awful nice to use AI to do certain things. I mean, it can do some things now, as far as my network is concerned, not only help you write things or create nice photos or create wonderful videos for you. You just type out what it is you want to do. Now, we just learned, well, Bill Skywatcher told me about this, so using a program that creates your own music based on what you input, how you want it. And then you can tweak it up. You can listen to it. If you don't like it, you can add something to it, and it will just create exactly what it is that you wanted. So we just lost Ron. He's no doubt going to come back in because somebody's blocking him, doesn't want him to talk about his movie, I guess, because it is a real eye-opener. I will say that. There are many, many people in the movie. I mean, you're going to know all the names when you watch it. Let me bring Ron back up. There we go. Hello again, Ron.
Hi, Margie. You know, I don't mean to be paranoid, but the last few appearances that I've made, I'm having problems with the internet. I had the internet company come out and up my my speed, and it's literally just been one thing after another. It seems to happen a lot on StreamYard, but it's happening on a couple of the other ones. You know, so I think that I'm saying some things out there, and this is like my 30th podcast in a month. I think I'm saying some things that might be upsetting some people.
Well, obviously, yes, and obviously the movie is going to.
And you saw my movie. That's going to upset a few people.
Oh, indeed. You know what was?
Sorry, Lou.
It was really interesting watching the hearings, watching what people were saying, and by the end of that, you realize everyone's being cut off. They can only say so much. They can tell the congressman behind the scenes a little bit. That obviously scares them, but the public is not going to know. And this slow disclosure going on, what do you think is up with that? Are they ever going to tell us everything?
Never. There's just too many people with dirty hands. There's too many things that have been done that could be defined as crimes against humanity. There's too much greed. There's too many people benefiting from this stuff, and they're going to benefit even more. You know, there's a rise in patents by insiders of technology that technically doesn't exist. And, you know, they're getting all their ducks in a row for the legal aspects of this. And Danny Sheehan's really good person to comment on this because he's in on some of the discussions. It just isn't that easy, Margie, to just come out and tell us what's going on. If the United States government gave Lockheed Martin, say, and you know, we know it was Lockheed Martin, actually, if the government gave Lockheed Martin some materials and they didn't give it to Grumman, or they didn't give it to any of the other aerospace contractors, and Lockheed Martin was able to develop something from that, the legal aspects of contract law violation and everything else just opens up a legal can of worms that they're still trying to sort through. And then they've got all these other mundane items, like who's going to own the patents to this stuff? Who's going to have the right to profit from it? They're not just going to gift it to humanity. The people are arguing about how to divide the pie. And so there's just as much of a legal quagmire, there's an ethical quagmire, and then of course there's the information itself. So, we're seeing what we're seeing, and it is what it is. And it's not going to be any different.
It seems that there's always somebody involved who wants to figure out a way to make money from it. And
Money or weapons, yeah.
Right. Or of course, yeah, weapons, but they're not concerned with giving free energy to humanity, for instance, which they've known about for many years. That's not going to happen. There's just too much money involved. Our healthcare system, curing people, that doesn't happen.
They don't want to cure people. They want you to give up whatever you've managed to save through your entire life on your way out the door. And unfortunately, the people that are in control of our civilization and our society are the kind of people that will climb to those levels. And it takes a certain personality. A lot of times it's sociopaths and psychopaths that don't have the empathy for their fellow human being. In fact, a lot of these people don't even think that people are equal, that they are created differently, and that the value of human life is not what normal people would think that it is. And we see examples of this, like what's happening with the Ukraine war. We got this leader that's sending people to certain death for the sole purpose of absorbing a bullet. Who does that, right? And so we have this leadership that is, basically created from people that do not have the best interest of humanity at heart. They have the desire to enslave people to serve their own means at heart. And, unfortunately, that's who's leading us right now all over the world. Well, then there's the Illuminati and the deep state, and we could just keep going and going with that. That's those guys. Yeah. They're really pulling the strings in the background. And AI is going to be the ultimate enslavement of humanity. We're not going to be able to do anything. We're going to have to accept the circumstances that we're given. We're going to have to eat the food we're told we can eat. We're going to have to do the job we're told we can do. And if we act up, they'll just put us in a prison and donate our organs. So, it's like, it's really shaping up very badly, frankly. What is your opinion on the missing scientists and dead scientists, not only in the United States, but now I hear there's some in Russia and China that are also dead or missing? There's a couple of different ways to look at this. I've done a certain amount of investigation, and I've given some information to some other reporters. Like I sent some leads and clues to Ross Coulthart, and he came back and said he doesn't think there's a connection. I think that there's some connection with some of them. And I also think that and some of them I don't think they're connected, but I have noticed that there's some certain aspects of research that does seem to dovetail into knowledge of this reverse engineered technology. And those people are, they move to the front of the line as far as I'm concerned on if their disappearance or death is relevant. The other thing about this is that we're also dealing with, whistleblowers and disclosure. And whistleblowers are being told that they can just give Arrow a call and they're going to be just fine. And what we found out is you give Arrow a call, you're going to be anything but fine. These people are going to identify you, and you're going to have problems with the way you're treated. And so this new narrative that they're floating, there's people that could come out at any given time and say, that's a bunch of crap. That's not true. And here's why. And it seems like almost everybody on this list is one of those people that could do that. McCaslin, for sure, the general, we know that he was talking to Tom DeLonge. He had a whole Twitter page. It wasn't him directly admitting that it was him, but he was dropping some very interesting clues. And so, the potential whistleblowers could affect the new narrative, and almost every one of these people fits the list of somebody who could come out with their knowledge and upset the apple cart of what the government wants to call disclosure, which is going to be their own version of things that they just expect us to believe, and it's not going to be the truth. Yeah, exactly. There we go. I just added myself to the list. Yes, you did.
the congressmen and women that you were in contact with for this, they seem to have a genuine interest in UFO disclosure. And is there a particular reason for that? Did you ever get the sense that they had sightings themselves or had contact?
They're just as curious as the rest of us. Tim Burchett, who I think I know the best out of all of them, he was reading comic books about the Roswell crash when he was growing up. He was just always into the topic. But Margie, what's happened is there's been an evolution since 2017, and I can paint this picture for you if you want. The whole political process of disclosure, and the senators and representatives that have been at the forefront of it, the landscape has changed. And what I mean by that is that, let's look back at Marco Rubio. Right after the 2018 revelations, Marco Rubio was gung-ho, front and center. We're going to get to the bottom of this UFO stuff. He was talking about it every day. And then we had these hearings, and that's where Moultrie and Bray from the military came in and said, we don't have anything. We don't know anything about any of it, which we debunked in the first movie, of course. But then they went into a closed session. And Marco Rubio came out of that closed session. He didn't say anything hardly at all. He disappeared down the hallway, and he wasn't talking about it anymore. And my theory on that is that he was read into some stuff, and he was just like, holy crap, you're right. We can't tell people this. And so I've seen this same pattern play out among all the other people in Congress that have been really forefronted. Their initial messaging was, hey, we're going to get to the bottom of it. The people deserve the truth. And then they had time to get their security clearances, because what people don't understand is in the very beginning of this, these Congress people weren't even cleared to get information from high-ranking military, much less members of intel and everything else. They had to get cleared to be told that. So somebody could be working on a reverse engineering program and come into Tim Burchett's office. He can't tell him, Wow. And that's a real thing. But now they've had time to get their clearances, and they've been getting briefed. Tim Burchett's been in a skiff. That's a big deal. You only go in there if you're going to be told things that are absolute top level secrets. Mm-hmm. And now the things they're saying have changed. It's not, hey, we're going to get to the bottom of it. Now it's, I got told some things that I can't talk about. And so that they have been turned to the other side. They are now instruments of the narrative, keepers of the secret, and playing by the rules. And people need to understand that if what you say has to be cleared by the Department of Defense, you are not a whistleblower. You are an instrument of the narrative. And that applies to Lou. It applies to Chris Mellon. It applies to David Grush. It applies to anybody that had to get their statements cleared before they could say them. And now we've got a lot of these members of Congress that have been pulled into these rooms and told things that they're just flat out telling us they can't tell us. They told me, but I can't tell you. And once that happens, then they're just part of the problem. And as much as I love and respect a lot of these people as friends and as politicians that I believe are good people, it's not a good outcome.
No, and it makes you wonder what would happen to them if they did reveal to us.
They'd get taken down just like everybody else. They'd be discredited. Let's look at what happened to poor Nancy Mace. Okay, this woman came out during that hearing, and she was very defiant. She says, come hell or high water, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and I don't care. And come at me, bro. You remember all that stuff that she was saying? The intelligence community, you going to mess with me? Come at me. Well, what happened to Nancy Mace? She had her reputation destroyed. She got attacked twice, physically attacked. And she's run into all kinds of problems with being called crazy and everything else. And she's in danger of losing her seat. So there you go. She came out with both fists swinging, and she paid a price. And people say, well, that's not connected. I'm like, of course it's connected. This is how these people work. They don't shoot you and bury you in the desert anymore if they can just destroy you. Murder is a last resort.
Right, exactly. Well, we are up on a short break, and we'll be back right after these messages. Have you ever wondered what messages starseeds are receiving from their star families? The Unexplained Network and Oz Institute are pleased to announce the Conscious Contact Virtual Conference, June 20th, 2026. Join us to hear messages from the Pleiadians, Arcturians, Venusians, and more with Lily Nova, Isha Patel, Dr. Raymond Keller, April Cordner, and Margie Kay. These experienced contactees will share what they have learned from the benevolent beings who are assisting Earth people to raise their consciousness. Visit unxnetwork.com for more information and to register. That's unxnetwork.com. Unx Media is pleased to offer 2 books by Dr. Gregory Rogers, former NASA flight surgeon. Impact is an account of the Space Shuttle program in 1992 and the tragedy that occurred even after NASA management had been warned about the damage to the thermal protection system. And in We Got It From Them, Dr. Rogers explains how humanity received ET technology. Both books are receiving much attention by the media. Visit unxmedia.com, that's unxmedia.com for more information, or go to amazon.com to purchase your copies today. And we're back talking with Ron James today, and we're talking about some scary things where, I don't know, there's something that's also been going on in the ufology community, which is people are mysteriously getting very rare cancers and dying, and being in very strange accidents that should never have happened and dying.
Yeah, okay.
And so somebody is sending us a message as well, those of us who are investigators.
All right, well, to whoever's doing that, I'm going to go do a movie next about, puppies and kitten cats. So I'm done. I'm finished. Accidental Truth Next is coming out. Go kill someone else. This film is really poking the lion. And I've had people that in the field that were going to be very supportive of this film, and all of a sudden they've disappeared. Ross Coulthart is in the movie, and he had an interview scheduled for me for a couple days ago, and he backed out. And other people that could really be helping me get this on the radar screen have literally ghosted me. People that I thought were my friends for a really long time with podcasts and news outlets. And even my publicist, Dan Harari, is convinced that there's some kind of campaign to keep this film from making headlines. And I don't want to be that paranoid guy that thinks that, but I've seen some things I just can't explain. And there's a clique that's happening right now. It's happening among podcasters. It's happening among filmmakers, and it's anybody with a voice in this field. That it's very clear that some people are playing along and some people aren't. And the ones that are playing along are getting the favors. They're getting the videos handed to them, even though the videos are usually fake nonsense. They're getting the views on their podcast. They're getting access to the guests that get the views. And then there's the other people that are not playing that game. And it's like, don't tell me your secret unless you want me to put it on my show. Those people aren't getting a whole lot of, they're not getting a whole lot of love from whoever's managing this thing. So I think that the lines have been drawn and the sides have been chosen, and the people that are going to have the biggest voice are the people that are willing to say what others would want them to say, to a certain degree. And I'm seeing this inside and out.
I've got to tell you, we've been affected too, not only my show, but my entire network with all 22 of our shows have been affected and blocked in a lot of areas. Facebook blocks, iTunes blocks, Spotify, you name it. We've had the same thing happening. And things will just disappear. Well, we're talking about subjects that certain people don't want discussed. So it's the same sort of thing across the board. Anything about ufology seems to be very, very dangerous right now. And I mean, it might just be me, but it seems like that's been ramped up.
Well, and then we have there's films right now that have come out that were catapulted to the top. Age of Disclosure was a film that it made a record for Amazon, the biggest grossing documentary ever. And I remember when, way before that film was even on the radar screen, when Dan Farah was first working with it. Look, I'm not trashing Dan Farah. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I don't want anybody to think that. So, but I will say what I'm about to say. I had lunch with Dan. Actually, it was coffee. We met on a street corner in Hollywood back when that movie was still on the drawing board and investment capital was still being raised. Mm-hmm. And I told him Lou was helping Dan acquire the connections to the people. So Lou Elizondo basically made it possible for Dan Farah to make that movie by introducing him and vouching for him to all the people that he got into the film. But I told him back then, I said, Dan, you can't make a true disclosure movie with those people because they're never going to be able to tell you the whole story. And so whatever comes out of this clique, of the people that you're putting in this film, and whatever story they're going to tell is not going to be it's going to be a version of disclosure, but it's not going to be disclosure because we need other elements to put this together in a broader way. And he basically said, well, you're not getting those guys, so that's why. But at the end of the day, Age of Disclosure is a great movie, and congratulations to Dan, but it's not disclosure, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, back to your movie, the latest. Well, first of all, I suggest everybody watch your first Accidental Truth movie. And
for free. They can watch it on YouTube for free. They can still rent it on Amazon, but I'm perfectly happy if people just go and watch it for free. It's okay with me. And it's on YouTube and they can see it. And so, yeah, they should definitely watch the first one.
Okay.
Because we've seen the same movie come out from, ever since the first one. There's been other movies. There's been other things that are playing out in the, in the environment. And it's been the same old stuff. And so, yeah, it kind of set the stage for that.
So if people, you've got a special deal set up, and I'm trying to find my banners. And so if people pre-order on Apple TV, so they can do that now. And then if they send their receipt to you at ronjamescontact@gmail.com, they will get a free special access to behind the scenes footage and other free perks. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a whole section on the website that's for, we call it Accidental Truth Insider. There's tons of videos supplementing the movie. We're going to give some people a free subscription to MUFON TV for 6 months. So yeah, if you click the link in the emails and the ads and you go to Apple, it's weird because the link will take you to the page. But in order to actually buy the pre-order, you have to log in from that page, and then it'll make it available. So a lot of people are getting confused trying to do that, but that's how it's working. And yeah, you send me a copy of the receipt where you pre-ordered the film, and I will hook you up with all kinds of cool stuff.
Okay, ronjamescontact@gmail.com.
Yes,
is the email address. And what is your website?
We have the website for the movie. It's accidentaltruthnext.com, and that's where we're putting everything. And then, of course, people can see the trailer on YouTube and all over the place at this point. But they can also find out more about the film at that destination.
Okay, perfect. Got that up.
I should mention, we've got Matthew Modine has returned as the narrator. He's amazing. And he's become a friend of mine over the years. So we have him, it really adds a great voice to it. And then we have actor Thomas Jane, who, he was the original Punisher. He had a great role in The Expanse. One of the latest things he's done is he's actually playing Dr. McCoy in an upcoming Star Trek. So that's pretty cool. But, and then we also have music by Alan Howarth. The entire soundtrack is composed by this guy. He's an Academy Award nominated composer. He did all the music for the most of the Halloween movies. He did Christine. He did Escape from New York. He's done all of John Carpenter's work, and he composed the entire soundtrack. And Sony Music is making it available. So I've got to, just shout out to the people that are bringing a little bit of star power to the production.
Oh yeah, and the music, by the way, was very, very good, very appropriate.
Yeah, he did an amazing
job. It was planned.
I was doing some stuff with AI, and a couple of people were reviewing the almost finished version of the movie, and they literally told me, they're like, Ron, the music really sucks.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly,
I was trying to avoid copyright stuff because there's this website where you can get music called Storyblocks, and over the years they've evolved their license so that the license, you think you're getting music that's going to be that you can use in your productions, and then you end up getting copyright strikes on YouTube for using the music, even though you paid for it, and it turns into a big fiasco. So I wanted to get away from that, and so I just used AI to make some music, and I thought it was okay. But then when Alan came in, I called him up at the last minute. I'm like, can you get it done in 2 weeks? And he's like, well, I could. And he did. And it was like, just added the finishing touch to the film was his music.
That was very nice music. Who else is in the film?
God, yeah, somebody was joking around with me. They're like, "Who isn't in the film?"
Exactly.
There's literally 25 people in the movie, and well, let me get the cast list, and I've lost
Danny Sheehan, Whitley Strieber. I mean, people would know all of the names.
Yeah, I'll just rattle them off.
Not all. Okay.
We got Congressman Tim Burchett, we got Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Congressman Eric Burleson. Now these are all original interviews by me. This is not some stuff I took off of YouTube and just said they're in the movie. Then we got Ralph Blumenthal, Thomas Jane, Ross Coulthart, Dr. Michio Kaku, Dr. Gary Nolan, Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell from the telepathy tapes, John Alexander, Lou Elizondo, Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, Camille Harmon, Linda Moulton Howe gets a nice little say in there. Paul Hynek is in it. Mike Baer is in it. Nancy Burson, Robert Spearing, Katie Page, Dave McDonald, Danny Sheehan, Steve Bassett, Ron James, Benny Foggin, James Hodgkins from the Skywatcher Project, Whitley Strieber, Rizwan Virk, and Patrick Armstrong from Vetted. So yeah, it's a robust group of people. You're not supposed to do that in a documentary. You're supposed to limit it to a few, but I broke a lot of rules on this film.
I don't know. I think it played well. You had so many differing opinions and all leading down a rabbit hole to a conclusion, which I found was just fascinating and a little scary. I think you're talking about the UAP subject, and it's more than that, isn't it?
It's way more than that. The things that humanity has been living with, we've had these non-human intelligent beings with us since there was an us. They're in all of our history. They're in all of our spiritual teachings. They're in everything, that we've never been alone. And so, we've always had this as part of the human experience. And then we get into some of the things we're just now starting to think about, like, well, maybe science is going to prove that there's a simulated nature to our reality. Maybe AI is going to be a prevalent effect on the future of humanity. Maybe the post-biological period is something that we're going to have to deal with. And so when we think about aliens and time travelers and beings that live inside the planet and interdimensional beings and Lord knows what else, there's probably a bunch. Once we could acknowledge that there are these things, even if we don't know what they are, it doesn't answer questions. It creates new ones. And the underlying theme that is throughout the movie is that we do not have the vocabulary to describe what we're seeing and what we're dealing with. And we don't even know if we're asking the right questions. In fact, we're probably not. So the first thing we have to do is figure out how to ask the next set of questions. And so this film is about, taking it beyond that and the things that we're going to have to start looking at that we're not today, as a broad civilization.
Well, one of the things among ufologists and for that matter, paranormal investigators, they want to stay in this nice, neat little box and not venture beyond. And then at some point, when you've been doing it for a while, you realize there's a crossover and you cannot separate all of those things. I'm talking about experiences with spirits and remote viewing and and ETs and interdimensional beings, all of that.
It's all connected, and we can't, materialist science is failing miserably at describing all of this. The explanation of the traditional scientific approach is just to say that stuff doesn't exist. So, and that's what they've been doing now for years, but it does exist. And so now we have to start redefining how we're going to look at this stuff, and we have to become more accepting of things like the experiencer phenomenon, the things that are happening to these people. They're having consistent experiences across the entire world. So what's up with that? We can't just keep saying they're all crazy, because, some of them, of the people that are having these experiences are supposedly, there is mental issues attached to it. But the vast majority are regular people that, unexplainable radical things are happening to them for good or bad in their lives. I'm not saying that the experiencer phenomenon is rife with horror and tragedy, because it's not. But we got to start listening to these people, and we got to start taking that into consideration. And we have to start looking at what is considered fringe science, as to maybe there's more to it. So it's going to take a complete surrender of the things we think we know to figure out what we don't know.
Exactly.
That's pretty good. I like that. I'm going to write that one down.
That's really good advice for all of you left brain scientists out there who have an inkling of what UFOs are. Listen to Ron. Okay. That was very good, Ron. I might steal that too.
I know, that's a t-shirt right there.
It's a rough road for people who have, even for people who claim to have seen one single UFO in their entire life. People make fun of them. Their own family members don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And they shut them out.
Look at that. That's why those 3 materials cases are in there. These are experiencers that left their experiences with prizes, and we're seeing that more and more, that experiencers are getting gifted physical things that in many cases defy explanation and testing, as a way to kind of bolster when they tell their stories. It's like, oh yeah, and by the way, I have this metal that I think that came from a flying saucer, and let's test it. And then we do, and it's weird stuff. So their stories are getting reinforced with things that they're bringing with them in their hands.
Well, it seems that more people now are crossing the bridge into believing something is going on than before. That's been ramped up lately, and it's because of films like yours, and Congress actually looking into it, even though they're probably never going to be able to tell us anything.
Well, they're going to tell us something. I mean, they're going to have to admit something, because technology is in civilian hands at this point that is capable of sensing these vehicles and these craft, and it's only a matter of time until somebody that's not sworn to secrecy lands on a part of the moon and finds something we can't explain, or we get to Mars. We have to, at some point, get this knowledge to humanity. And of course, there's also the realization and the understanding that, humanity, men, the ones running this planet that are humans, may not be the ones that are in charge. And so there's a couple of parts in the film where we talk about, the disclosure is not being controlled by people. It's being decided upon by the beings that are going to be disclosed. And there's a strong argument for that.
Did you see the recent release about the 4 alien types? The Greys, the Mantids, the Reptilians, and the Nordics. And
Linda Moulton Howe in my film, she lays that out. That's why I gave her that little segment. Is Linda tells a story about how she sat down with a freshly retiring person from the intelligence community who told her just that. He said there's 4 different types of aliens, and it went into who and what they were. And then it just gets to this strange thing at the end that he tells her about how these supposed reptilian aliens are able to shapeshift, and the technology that gets described in her statement. It makes sense, but I think even the best science fiction writer would have a hard time coming up with that title and description for this, but it fits perfectly. So to me, it's like, okay, there must be something to that, because it's just too convenient of a moniker for this technology.
Well, yeah, and then it makes you wonder about people who've said that reptilians are walking among us, but they are cloaked in some fashion to look human, but they're really not. And I must tell you, I have seen some people's eyes shift to the tall, thin reptilian eye and then go back. And that is rather unnerving. Have you ever seen that?
Well, I've seen videos of it. I haven't been like talking to somebody and seen that happen. That would leave a mark, I think.
Yeah. It does. It does. Watching the video it is disturbing, but when it is in person, I've seen it, and oh my gosh, you have to just pretend like you didn't see it.
Dedicated to the scientific understanding of UFOs for the betterment of humanity, and some of these things like shape-shifting reptiles and all this, it's in the vernacular. People talk about it, but I haven't seen enough to sign off on that. Like, oh yeah, that's real. I can't say it's not real, but I can't go out and hang my hat on it and try to convince people that it's true. There's some things that, from when you're trying to be objective, you just have to leave in the gray box, they call it.
Yeah, that's true. And wherever you feel safest. I
like to stick with things that we can make a reasonable case for. And there's a lot of stuff being floated around that we don't have a reasonable case for it. We have a terrible case. And so, it's like, why do a lot of people have made a lot of money telling stories that have very little credibility, and it's not good for any of us.
You do need to have a lot of evidence for something before you present it to the public. That
doesn't seem to stop some people. And like I said, it's terrible. Oh, you got a question here from somebody. I haven't had a chance to see the latest document dump because it just happened. Okay. So I'm going to hop on and watch Patrick on Vetted because he'll lay it all out. But my prediction, having not seen it, is, there's just not going to be anything. It's not like they're going to parade out the pictures of Roswell and show us pictures of the craft and identify with photographs, and they're not going to cart an alien out in a glass tube that's been preserved from a crash site and show us, so yeah, a bunch more cryptic videos of weird things flying in the sky, half of which will probably be debunked by tomorrow. Just like that flying star. Jeremy Corbell was publishing photographs, and I'm not attacking Jeremy, but he was publishing photographs of this star-shaped thing a few months ago, and we just got the video, and it turns out that it's a flare on a parachute and a little lens aberration that's making it take on that cross shape. But why are they dropping that kind of stuff in front of us? And I have no reason to believe that they're not going to continue doing that.
Okay. They're just trying to appease us a little bit by throwing some things out.
They're doing a terrible job.
And then they get debunked, and
I don't know who they're trying to kid. I've been in a lot of conversations where people are like, oh, this is the beginning of disclosure. And I'm like, give me a break. The same exact thing was happening in the 1950s. We had military officers coming forward saying that there were things technology that we can't explain, things flying in the sky. And then we were showing some stuff. It all happened once before. And this is just a bad rewrite of the same movie. And so many people that I've talked to, I was in a chat room last night, and everybody's hailing, oh, this is disclosure. I'm like, guys, the emperor is wearing no clothes, okay? And people are reading into this far more than I think is significant. This is not, it's almost like they hired somebody who knew nothing about any of it to sort through a bunch of files and figure out what to put out. I hope I'm wrong. I hope when I get off this phone call, I go and I start looking at this stuff, and I see things that haven't been published, and I see things that sorry, I was distracted by the text.
Sorry.
I hope I see something that's definitive, but I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, Almost Toxic says, I seriously believe that Jeremy Corbell is being played just like Robert Moore was in the 80s. This guy got access to George Knapp's treasure trove, and all of a sudden, filmmaker is top UFO guy.
Well, look, that I could tell you things about the history of all of that I will never say publicly, so I'm going to shut up. But
Okay.
You're not far off. And when we look at some of the things that have been brought through that person, we got those flying triangles off the deck of a ship that were, oh, it has to be aliens. And it's like, well, they're using aviation lights. So it's pretty nice that people and craft from other planets are at least obeying the FAA. I think that almost everything that's gotten rolled out through that pipeline, handed to certain people and then put out by that person, has largely been debunked. And now this diamond-shaped UFO that came out a few months ago, it's debunked. It's debunked horribly. So, yeah.
What is next for you, Ron, after this? Do you have something else planned? I'm going to promote
this film. I'm going to create a bunch of, because, we've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of very interesting stuff that didn't make it into the film. And we're going to put that into its own special place on MUFON television where people can see it if they're a MUFON TV subscriber. And then, I don't know, I'm going to rest for a minute. I'm doing some music projects. I'm working on, yeah. So my next actual UFO film is going to come out pretty soon. I've worked with Michael Schratt, and we have recreated 15 of Leonard Stringfield's crash retrieval stories with cutting edge AI, using a guy that works for Disney to help us put this together. So it's called Stringfield Theory, the legacy UFO programs. And that's going to be coming out, I think, by the end of the year. And then I'm working with Toby from the Roswell Daily Record to do a new Roswell movie. He's been digging up some stuff. So as I keep forgetting about some of these things that I'm doing, because I'm kind of executive producing from a bird's eye view instead of being right in the middle of it. So I got that. And then I'm doing a project for, I think I could talk about it now, J.J. Hurtak, the author of The Keys of Enoch. He has brought me in to help do a new documentary about his work. So that's all in the works.
Busy guy. So the website is accidentaltruthnext.com. Go there, it'll give you all the information you need. You can pre-order right now. And then, of course, you want to send your receipt in to ronjamescontact@gmail.com to get some nice perks.
Yeah, you'll get some free stuff. I promise. It's going to be cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ron, for being on the show tonight, and appreciate your film. Like I said earlier, it's fantastic. Everybody needs to watch it.
Margie, like I said earlier in the interview, that really means a lot coming from you. I mean, you're somebody who has a very good sensibility about this field. And I've been told by a lot of people that it's a good movie. It's already won some awards, but you just never know. I mean, you're petrified until the day it comes out, and that's how it is. So I'm on pins and needles. I hope people like it. I'm happy that it's very close to the film I wanted to make. You're always limited by something, but yeah, I think I did what I set out to do, and I hope the world has fun with it. I really do. It's fun to watch. That's something that was important to me.
I'm sure you'll get good reviews on it. Thanks again, Ron. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Margie.
Okay. Bye-bye. Well, that ends another episode, and I'll see you here again next week.